Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world today. We are back with another conversation with Kanika today. Kanika serves the CEO at ComMutiny, and ComMutiny is known for their collaboration with the nonprofit ecosystem, building youth-centric communities. If I look at Kanika has been in the ecosystem for 2 decades now, and she also have been facilitating the conversation with 85 plus non-profits part of ComMutiny's collaborative efforts, and these organizations are spread across 18 states. So it's also part of core team that facilitate VartaLeap Coalition in India, and she has also built partnerships, alliances towards amplifying the fifth space, which we'll get to know while we're having a conversation with Kanika around that, because that's very interesting stuff that is happening in India. Another Kanika is well known for her campaign Sathi Nirbhar, which was during COVID, and World Economic Forum's COVID Response Alliance for Social Entrepreneurs also have recognized her efforts for the Sath Nirbhar, and we'll get to know about this thing. Welcome, Kanika, to the podcast, Know the Social Sector.
Thank you so much. Lovely to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Kanika, ComMutiny with the name itself talks or maybe give that sense around building more vibrant communities. And this is something that often we come across nonprofits which work with ground, which work with on maybe specific ground, I mean, issues or maybe a problem they're tackling at the grassroots level, or maybe either with government or something. And you have been working directly with nonprofits, and how's that idea of starting ComMutiny came in, and would love to know your thoughts how the journey started with ComMutiny and then VartaLeap part of ComMutiny. And so yeah, to you.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I mean, because you talked about the what it means, so I'll just go into that a little bit. So community is of course a play on words, and that's something we love. You'll notice that we love playing with words, but also because there's always a story behind those words coming together. So community is of course a play on community as well as mutiny. And our byline is that the first mutiny is within. And that's what happens to a young person when they go out in communities that are different from themselves and start working towards social change. So this sort of self and social transformation that takes place when a young person goes out and starts volunteering or working in communities that are different from themselves, especially. And that's sort of what ComMutiny stands for. But ComMutiny was always imagined or envisioned as a collective with the idea that this whole field of youth leadership and youth-centric development, needed to be built, needed greater visibility and greater legitimacy. So while a lot of youth work or young people taking action, in the field of gender or climate or thematically, one understood what these areas of say investment were. Youth-centric development as a cause of its own was not so widely recognized, and that was really the purpose with which ComMutiny, in a sense, came together. And therefore, it was always imagined as wasn't one organization's mission, but always seen as a collaborative movement. And so the collective has taken various shapes and forms over the last 16 odd years. But I think from day one, the idea was always that this will be bringing together a wide range of experiences of youth work to then build out and in a way, increase, like I said, is visibility and investment for the sector, but also create best practices, resources, frameworks, benchmarks for what youth leadership is, what youth-centric development is. That was also sort of that's what also brought us to the VartaLeap Coalition that you mentioned. So we facilitate the VartaLeap Coalition, which is a cross-sectoral, collaborative of organizations. A large part of the coalition consists of members who work with young people, so grassroots organizations, organizations that work directly with young people. But there are also organizations who are experts in specific thematics. There are individuals who bring in corporate experience, or who represent the UN sort of voices, people who've worked in government spaces. So the idea that we don't just want to talk to people who think like us or know what we know, but if we want the mission statement is every youth a Jagrik, every space nurturing Jagriks, which means, and a Jagrik is a self-awakened, proactive citizen. And for it to be in every space, for it to be every youth, we can't just talk to the people who already understand youth-centric development or youth leadership, but we need to be understanding others who also work with young people. Young people are everywhere. And that's what VartaLeap sort of came together for. And that's why there's quite a diversity there, not just geographic, but also a very wide range of experiences that sits in VartaLeap. And, this with the idea that how do we scale with soul
Mm-hmm.
the fifth space that you mentioned. Fifth spaces are enabling spaces for young people to unleash their own leadership potential, for them to experience this self and social transformation.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, all aspects of their life, all aspects of society, whether it's economic, whether it's social, there is an impact on every sort of facet. And that's the idea of the fifth space. It's not only about uh, uh, volunteering, but
Mm-hmm.
it's also about self-development, and it's also about building communities. It's also about relating to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what the idea is how do we create more and more enabling spaces for young people.
Great. So let's talk a bit more about Fifth Space. I'm a youth uh, in college. Now, how do I become part of Fifth Space? How do you look at the journey, someone getting or interacting with the Fifth Space? How does that happen?
So the fifth space is, I mean, it's not a physical space necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
It's a framework. Some people might call it a philosophy. I don't call it a philosophy necessarily, but yeah, it's an approach to a kind of experience that a young person could have, and that is possible. So of course, where are these fifth spaces alive currently?
Mm-hmm.
There must be, I mean, other than our own ecosystem of 150, 200, 250 organizations rather that are working in this way with young people.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots and lots of them, about thousands of social entrepreneurs out there who started their own initiatives, who also work with young people using these approaches. It's very, I mean, so there are design journeys that are called fifth space journeys, and these could be thematic, on constitutional literacy, on gender, working on masculinities, on climate change, on well-being. But and they're being facilitated by youth workers. The very simple idea of the fifth space is that it's a space that is separate, that is different from the legitimized spaces of the family, the friends, education, career, and leisure. This is where young people spend their time. The fifth space is sort of that space right now, which is in the margins, where young people, sort of discover themselves. And a lot of that discovery happens when they start getting involved with social action. And it could be through an NSS experience. It could be a nonprofit organization that's running something in your college. It could be someone who runs a club in your communities. Many young people themselves are creating these fifth spaces.
Mm-hmm.
A space where you experience love, where you experience growth, where you experience ownership, freedom, social hope. We say a space that you experience these feelings as a fifth space. And there are ways in which to create these experiences. There are guidebooks and manuals and facilitator trainings and games that make that happen. And so I would imagine there are thousands and thousands of fifth spaces at this point. And anyone who, wherever they are located, if they get in touch with us and kind of ask us who the VartaLeap member or collective member closest to them is, we can kind of direct them, and I'm sure they'll find a thriving fifth space near them.
Great. I think when youth today, when they are in college, and this is something that we often come across, is they keep on looking for spaces. uh, or people who can expose them to leadership skills or maybe can believe in them and maybe sort of provide the fit space. So one,
Yeah.
uh, those who are watching, in case if you're interested in getting into the fifth space, get in touch. We're also adding the email link on the description so you can reach out to the team, and ComMutiny team will connect you with the concerned org that can help you access the platform or the fifth space. Kanika,
Absolutely.
I was connected, I think, with ComMutiny around 2020, and this was when I was with Quest Alliance, and then there was some VartaLeap conversation happening. This was very interesting. I think where
Mm.
nonprofit coming together and maybe talking about certain, or maybe taking collective or making
Yeah.
collective efforts to strengthen some sort of space. Uh, if you can talk a bit more about VartaLeap as well, would be really great for us.
Yeah. So, like I said, so it's VartaLeap, the idea that through conversations we'll actually take a leap and we don't just stay at, so there's conversation, but there's also action that we see in there. It's our sort of, the space that we are building to, bring together. I mean, really our three strategies, one which is around aggregating the experiences of working with young people. So what all is out there in terms of learning resources, practices, and what more can we create? So it's about bringing a community together, and sometimes the community is coming together for a particular purpose and passion, but the community is also coming together just to be. Like there is a need for communities to just exist. So VartaLeap exists for this mission of every youth Jagrik and every space nurturing Jagriks. But VartaLeap also just exists because that solidarity is needed and that support is needed. And as social entrepreneurs, we need that belongingness. Um, so there is that whole element of aggregate, which is in a sense the being of what we do. There's also what we call accelerate, the strategy of accelerate, which is these are all organizations who together believe in youth centric development, believe in youth leadership. And so how do we reach our very, very large population of young people, creating the right sort of experiences for them to be able to unleash their leadership potential, to be able to change norms around how people interact with young people.
Mhm,
Right. So everyone talks about young people, everyone's talking about demographic dividend, everyone talks about, young people will change the world, but no one gives young people any decision making power or space.
mhm,
No one works with young people to say, okay, how do you take, what is the way to take decisions? What is the best way for you to develop your leadership? How do you use your mind critically? How do you use your voice well? So either they don't get the platforms or they're just thrown into the deep end without any, preparation. And I think that's what, one truly believes. If you believe in youth leadership, you will be there as a youth ally and help, sort of propel that leadership from the back. And so that accelerator is, that's sort of the other strategy where we're working directly with young people, all of our member organizations. We are focused on four themes: climate action, constitutional literacy, well-being, and gender. But
mhm,
young people choose the areas that they really want to work in and what they are passionate about. And ultimately, that's what matters, right? That's where the real impact comes. Um, and the other thing that we do as a coalition is amplify. So amplify because we are youth allies, but we need many, many more youth allies in many different types of sectors, more and more people to believe in youth leadership. So that amplification is necessary. The visibility of youth leadership itself, not enough role models are out there, not enough young people get validation for the sort of change they are making and that they are driving. And not enough young people are looked up to for being that sort of change maker. And so that strategy of really putting young people out there and giving them center stage, and using all of that together to create a wider case for investment in young people and youth leadership. So that's what we try to do. How we do it is, we're organized in working groups, we are organized through labs, we are organized through convenings, different ways in which members find it possible to contribute to shaping this agenda. And we do it together as VartaLeap, but also, of course, all of these members in their own right are amazing organizations doing very, very deep, impactful work. So what you can see is a big movement of a whole lot of champions who believe very deeply in young people, and many of those champions are young people themselves. So many of our social entrepreneurs and leaders here are young folks. So I think there's also a great intergenerational sort of experience within VartaLeap that really is exciting and inspiring.
Great. I think when you were talking about the VartaLeap, I also realized that it's not only this space is not only for youth, but those who are maybe started or in the non-profit leadership. I mean, if you are an organization, also you can explore synergies around four thematic areas mentioned by Kanika. So that's sort of, I mean, are you accepting maybe new partners, or maybe are you open to new collaborations as well?
Yeah, absolutely. All the time. I mean, I think, who are we to sort of close any gates? I think the idea is to learn as much as we can from as many diverse people as we can. Of course, there's always, like in terms of when you become very large and the volume, we need to be able to engage effectively with each other. And we use the term scale. So we want to scale with soul always. So we want to make sure we don't lose the core of who we are, which is being able to, have a deep relational engagement with people and not just have large numbers. But yes, absolutely. Thanks for making that invitation on our behalf. We are very, very happy and interested in meeting new folks and bringing people into our community or joining theirs.
Great. I think anyone who's started or running a social sector, social uh, I mean, enterprises, do get in touch with ComMutiny. I think it's a fantastic platform to build better collaborations and engage youth effectively. Kanika, one quick thing also. There are so many people follow us to know more about ComMutiny and know the social sector. And very
Mm.
interesting is if I'm a young person, just fresh graduate from college, or say like someone in the ecosystem itself, and I have my inclination towards gender, constitutional literacy, and two other thematic areas where ComMutiny works. What are the career pathways that I can explore? What are the skill, knowledge, attitude you look while hiring?
Mm.
So that it's something that I had a follow-up question.
Right, right. Um, so I'll start with the second part of it, which is the skills, knowledge, and attitudes. And I think for me, at least, the most crucial sort of aspect when interacting with young people who are looking to join the team at ComMutiny is, like there are two things really. One is a learning orientation, like really being curious and hungry to learn and not just to do and just to prove ourselves, because there's so much pressure, and I think the world kind of wires us to really have to constantly prove ourselves. And I think that's important. It's important for people to feel a sense of achievement, but I think it's equally important for people to have an attitude of learning and openness, because really the world is so dynamic, the sector is so dynamic, we don't know what is coming next. So what is our ability to adapt to new situations and our ability to learn new things? I think that's sort of one of the big things that we look for. And the other thing is probably around relationships and relationship orientation, and how to what extent is it that you are interested in other people and want to form relationships, learning equations, again curiosity about other people. I think these are sort of markers for people who'd fit in nicely here. And also storytelling to some extent. So these both of these things I think relate to, one is learning about others, but also being in a way a storyteller, narrative builder in your own right. And this doesn't mean you have to be a great writer or very, very eloquent or articulate, but I think just it comes in the form of, everything today is a narrative.
Mm-hmm.
and wanting to shape that and contribute to that in your own way, I think is also something that we look forward to having people like that in our team. And I think it is possible. I mean, so while we don't necessarily have experts in certain themes,
Mm-hmm.
although we work on these themes, we've all grown to be. I didn't know very much about the Constitution when we first started working on it. And it was here that I learned not just why it's so important to know and learn about, but you learn the ins and outs a little bit. Climate is a thematic we've ventured into recently because we just had to. We felt like as an organization working with young people, how do you not address climate as an issue? And we're building our knowledge and understanding with other people, other experts. So people who bring in that expertise is great, but if you don't have it, but you want to learn it, I think that's sort of the other way to find your feet here.
Great. And what sort of role generally you hire for?
Of course, we hire across levels. We also hire at the entry level. We also hire at mid and senior levels. Our roles are primarily, if you're here, there'll definitely be some work for you around coalition building. So this whole thing of interacting with other social entrepreneurs, building communities. So that could be part of your role. Narrative building, as I said, which means you could have a strong background in communications, but you could also just want to sort of, create visibility for youth-centric development, youth leadership, maybe write stories, but tell stories, be in places where stories can be heard.
Mhm.
Um, uh, some amount of, if you're a trainer, facilitator, you've done some work directly with young people, then that's a bonus. But again, that's a skill that you can build here if that is of interest to you. So I think, and like I was talking about thematics as well, if you come with some sort of thematic expertise, that can also be helpful. So really in the three strategies that I'd spoken about a little bit earlier, which is the coalition building, so aggregating, accelerating, which is a lot more around capacity building, designing, working, training trainers, working with grassroots organizations and youth facilitators, and then the amplification, which is the visibility, the storytelling, and of course, then there are, the horizontal functions that we have, like HR, to be a people's person, be interested in institution building, be interested in capacity building, people development, finance. So we need all kinds of people with all the talents and skills that they bring. And we're a smallish organization. We're about 15, 16 people plus consultants who work with us, but we bring in people at all levels, really.
Great, Kanika. I was also going through the website before this podcast, and so really great career page also. So those who are looking to explore career with ComMutiny, head to career section, and I'm sure you will find great opportunities. Kanika, you have
Yeah,
been.
and I wanted to also say, Mahala, that of course we have vacancies that are based on certain projects and things that we are doing, but we also love just interacting and meeting with people in the hope that at the right time when our paths cross again, maybe there's something for us to do. So sometimes you don't sometimes we people come in just because we met at the right time and in the right moment and it worked out. So everything is not, I think for us recruitment is really not about what is the vacancy only and what is the project only. It's also about meeting the right people and finding a space that we will all grow in together. Yeah, I just want to also say that we don't just look at recruitment from the point of view of exactly what is that vacancy, and Ground Zero has that experience with us as well, which can be both. It's I think a good way to be, but it can also be a challenging way to be.
I really appreciate you, Kanika, having that open sort of slots for open roles. Kanika, you have been in the ecosystem for 2 decades now, and you have seen, say, CSR came in, and COVID came in, and then there are so many things shifted. Would it something that someone who just starting or intending to get into social sector, do you have or one piece of advice that you would like to give to someone who's just starting or transitioning into the social sector. Would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because I think everyone who's starting in every generation, the vantage point is so different. Your set of experiences are so different, and the world is so different at any given point. So I think my advice would really be, like, is just keep yourself as open as possible to whatever experiences come your way. And I feel really in the early stages of one's career to be not worry so much about what am I becoming an expert in, what is my specialization, uh, what role, role and money and things like that. So yeah, I think just especially the early stages of one's career, I think it's important to think about um, what are the sets of experiences that I will get here and how that shapes me into a person who's ready for whatever the future of work is going to be. That's dynamic, it's unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen with AI. We don't know what's going to happen anywhere. So I think it's really the life skills that one is learning, and that is far more critical than other sort of specializations. Um, so just soak up all the experiences you can get.
Great. Thank you. Those who are watching, thank you so much for listening. And I think Kanika had a great advice. The world of work is evolving, and having those basic life skill will help you get in, sink in, and we look forward to have you in the sector. Thank you so much, Kanika, for the conversation. It it is amazing to see the work community doing, because it's not something that you're directly working with youth, but you're also enabling so many other nonprofit, and that take courage, that take efforts, and that take years. And I think community has been doing that for around 15, 16 years. And I really appreciate that belief and then the effort that you folks are putting in through community. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.